Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Are you looking to win more control games in Modern Warfare 2's ranked play? If so, this is the video for you. We're going to be going into the basics of control. I'm going to be going into a deep dive in how spawns work on a couple of the maps as well, so you are going to get a bit of an insight into how to control spawns. We're going to be looking at when to stack, when to chalk a point, and then how to use your util and all sorts of other tricks to help you win more control games. A couple things first before we get into this, the tips and tricks. The gameplay we've got in the background is a 33 to 14 hotel control, which is apt considering that's what we're talking about. So it's a stunning gameplay, so even if you're not here for the tips and tricks, feel free to just watch the gameplay and enjoy the ride. Second thing, obviously you guys can probably already tell, my voice is absolutely chalked. I think I'm coming down with some, or I'm screaming at COD way too much, but in any case, I apologise for the rough sounding voice I'm currently presenting the video with. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into first things first, the basics. So just a bit of a background on control. There's 30 lives per team. You have to either defend the points. So just if you're on defense, you've got to stop the enemy team from capturing both points without losing all your 30 lives. And if you're on attacking, you have to then capture both points before the timer is out, before losing 30 lives. It's 3 ticks per point. If you progress the point beyond a single tick on a certain point, it can't be reduced or taken back. So for example, if you get 1 tick, which is basically 1 segment within the control point, the enemy team won't then be able to reduce that beyond that segment backwards. So capping 1 point extends the time by a whole minute, which is absolutely huge, so it's worth noting that. It also stops time, so if you're trying to buy kills, stepping on the hill will stop the timer from going down if you're on offense. Next thing, the more ticks means you get defense round 5. Now that means, for example, say we've both played 2 attacking rounds, 2 defending rounds. On the team I'm playing in, we managed to get maybe 5 ticks around, and the enemy team got 4 ticks around when they were on offense. That means we would then win defense. If we are even on ticks by the time round 5 comes around, it's dependent on lives. So really, most of the maps you want to be on defense, so you are really playing to get most ticks where and whenever possible. Now, let's get into the spawns. So as far as spawn controls are concerned on hotel, on control, I don't have expo, so unfortunately I'm only going to be looking at briefly at Asilo and hotel. Obviously our bagger's been taken out of the control rotation. Say for example you're trying to defend B, you want one of your teammates sort of sat top garage, and then as soon as this happens, the whole of the enemy team will be spawning here, which means they've got a really long route to get to B, and then from here you can sort of have players lingering around the rest of the map. The only thing to be aware of here is you don't want anyone pushing kitchen. As soon as you have a teammate pushing kitchen, like so, they're not going to be able to spawn here anymore. So he's blocking these spawns, and then what can happen, which is probably ideal, these then spawn out like so, but then this can't happen if number 1 here is looking here. What happens if this is the case? Say number 1's looking here, number 4 is blocking kitchen spawns. The enemy team will actually spawn under number 1, which isn't ideal because then they get through and it breaks the whole defense. So realistically, you can have a setup however you want with this number 1 guy here. You probably have 2 guys up here in case this guy dies. These will always spawn in kitchen. From there, you can play off what you want. Now, let's say, for example, you're trying to defend A. Similar situation. You want to have a guy back kitchen, or maybe a couple, just in case this guy dies. And then they will spawn bottom garage. As soon as it's worth bearing in mind, as soon as the guy who is blocking spawns dies, he will need to be filled in off spawn so that then they don't keep spawning here. So for example, let's say this guy was the only one defending kitchen. He dies. We then get kills as a team. The enemy team will start spawning there. And then they're so much closer to A. You need to push through the A point, get the map control, and then they'll spawn garage. And then from here, you can sort of set up a line of defense across the map to make sure that all the sort of areas are covered and they can't get to the point. On the other hand, let's say you are on offense. In order to sort of rig the spawns, let's say you are capping B. So you obviously have a couple of teammates on B like so, and in order to spawn them over here, which is where they will spawn, you need a teammate pushed up into spar. If they're pushed up here, might not be enough. They can still spawn in spar, so you want to have a guy pushed up into spar. From here, they'll spawn chandelier. unless a teammate is here. You cannot have a teammate here, otherwise they won't spawn there. They'll spawn somewhere super wanky, and you don't really want that. So from here, you can then just set up a line of defense from the point. But at the end of the day, if someone's here, say if you only get one down, that one guy is then going to spawn here. So this guy needs to sort of play his life. You can maybe have two over here, but realistically, any kill you get after this number one is positioned here, they will spawn miles away. Now let's say, on the other hand, you're trying to attack A. So you obviously have people on the point, like so. And then in order to control spawns, you'd have a guy pushed out in white or chandelier, like just this general area. And then from here, the enemy team will spawn all the way back here. So as long as this guy's sort of in this area, sort of this vicinity here, the enemy team will spawn back here. It's the same logic as always. Sorry. And then you sort of want to defend A from here, depending on whatever situation you want. But generally speaking, you want someone pushed up here when there's only A to get, because then they'll spawn here. So yeah, now let's have a look at Asilo. So this is a little bit wanky. I'm not going to lie. This map is a little bit bizarre. So let's say you are defending. Let's say you want to defend B. Now there are three spawn points for the blue team to spawn here. So these are on offense, these are on defense. So they can spawn back green, like so. They can spawn back yellow, or they can spawn just generally in the middle here somewhere. Now, when they only have A to get, you want them spawning green, where this number 2 is. When they have B to get, you want them spawning where number 1 is. Fairly logical, I get that. But in order to you've got to understand, in order to affect those spawns, you need someone on your team to be blocking the spawn in which they could be. If this number 4 guy is pushed up to this little yellow hut, number 1 won't spawn here. He'll spawn here. So let's say they've only got A to get. As long as you've got someone pushed up this right-hand side of the map, they could be out here, they could be in here. They need to be pushed up far enough. The enemy team, as soon as you get a kill, will spawn here. And then you can have a guy sat top snooker. You can have a guy sat top party. Just picking them off spawn as they're running off. And then you could maybe have someone bottom snooker or something, just picking them off if they run through here. But generally speaking, you want this guy pushed up this far for them to spawn back here. And then, as you can see, there's a huge line of defense across the map. Obviously, this guy will be up here or something. A huge line of defense across the map before they even get to A. So they're getting kills over here before they even reach it. Now, on the other hand, let's say you want them to spawn back here. They've got B to get, so you want them to spawn as far away as possible. You need a couple people, or one. You only really need one person to be pushed up past the green building, like so. If 4's here, spawn's going to be a little bit wanky. So realistically, you want this guy to pull back a little bit, maybe sit top A, and then as soon as you've got a couple guys, or even one guy to be fair, pushed up past the green here, the enemy team will all spawn down here. And then again, you've got a nice line of defense all the way across the map before they even get to B. Now, on the flip side, on offense, you want to manipulate spawns. This is where it gets a bit mixy, especially if you're on defense trying to defend a point here. If you are on offense and you manage to get someone up to, I'm using the same colors here, so the colors might be confusing, but I hope you guys can still follow. If you have someone top tree or top BS and D, for example, the enemy team will spawn back here behind the house. But they're spawning Narnia, and it leaves them with some unreal amount of open space to run through to get out their spawn. And then if you've got a couple of ARs here, set up on barbecue, for example, they will never get out. Let's be real, they'll never get out. And then one guy can be capturing B. The only thing to note here is if one person they can actually still spawn back here. Now, I've had this happen to me a couple of times. Perhaps it's only if you're pushed up this far, but they can actually still spawn back here if someone on our team is around A. If they're on A, chances are they can spawn here. So in order to really guarantee controlling spawns, you want a guy up here. You don't really want a guy on A. You can maybe have a guy sat top 10 or something. And then from here, they can't really get to B. Now, if you are trying to capture A and you're trying to manipulate spawns so that they spawn back here, you want to be blocking this spawn. I'm hoping you guys are getting the pattern here. You just basically want to be blocking the spawn and leaving the spawn where you want them to spawn free. Oh my God, I wonder how many times I've actually said spawn in this video. Anyway, so in order to make them spawn over here, you want obviously you'll have a couple of guys on A capping it or something, hopefully. They'll spawn behind this truck back here. So you have a guy up here, you'll probably have a guy maybe on the wall up back here, watching the heady cross here. And then this will spawn them back here. As long as you're pushed up this side, you're blocking these spawns, and they'll spawn there. And then hopefully any kills you get, they'll take a good 10-15 seconds to actually get to A, which will give you the advantage. And as long as they've got no one here, if they've got someone here, obviously will spawn green, and it's going to be an absolute, I was going to say shit show, so I'm just going to say it, an absolute shit show over B. But generally speaking, hopefully you've cleared this guy out before pushing it, and then you've got the whole of the map control like so. So I hope that provided useful content for you guys. Obviously, it is very situational dependent, but I hope you get the logic between like about how spawns generally work on Control. A similar thing happens with Expo. I know I didn't really cover the analysis with Expo specifically, but you get the gist. You push up left side, they're going to spawn right. You push up right side, they're going to spawn left. That's just generally how it works. Now, the next thing I wanted to cover was when to stack a point. So stacking a point reduces the time it takes to capture the point. So really, as the whole aim of the game is to capture the points. What you want to be doing is force stacking when possible. So you need a gap. So you need to clear the point, you need to get control of the area around the point. Even if you push someone out of the spawn, that's perfectly fine. And then only when you have this opportunity, you can force stack. So generally, say for example, we're pushing B here on this hotel. Someone's spar, we get kills, they're going to be spawning way further out. So we really want to be stacking when we've got enough people around the hill to jump on it, and that we can defend it efficiently from the hill or from around the hill. Ideally, you can't defend the point directly from the hill in all situations. So only if you've got maybe 2 or 3 down, you stack the point, and then hopefully, even if one of you die, you can then get the trade for the next 2 people. That should generally be how it works. But generally speaking, if a team sees that you're stacking a point, hopefully they sort of back off and then hopefully, pull their defenses back to the other point. Next thing I want to discuss is when to chalk a point. So essentially, the logic behind this is you don't want to push a point if by the time you get there, it's going to be too late and they've already captured it. Now, that's obviously fairly obvious, but I see a lot of people pushing a point that they're pretty much already captured, which means that you've then given up the control of the map of the point you're actually trying to defend after that one's already been taken. You can tell how many people are on it. So, for example, what I would say as just a bit of practice, background practice for you guys, is that when you are attacking a point, obviously you're going to be aware of you're trying to shoot people at the same time, but obviously when you are attacking the point, you want to make sure you're looking at how quickly that ticker's going up, how quickly that tick's going up, and then use that and just sort of get used to the timings there, and then you can then visibly see how many people are on the point. If you've just spawned in, you want to go and defend A, but you're seeing that the ticks are going up really quickly, you're much better off just going to B. Chalk A up, save your life, and get a properly good setup towards the B side of the hill. So yeah, really, it's just about getting the reps in, and then just getting used to when to not stack and chalk a point. The next thing I want to mention is that obviously when you're on offense, you either win the round by killing the whole of the enemy team or capturing both points. If their defense is very one-sided, I know it's very simple and it's very I know I've said stack points. It's not always the case. So say, for example, we're on a hotel. Let's just use this as an example here. Say, for example, we're on offense. One of our teammates are on A. They're capturing it. They're not really getting contested. And if they are, it's by one guy at a time. They're defending it well. Don't stack it. Instead, get set up around the point. Maybe get some pressure over towards B and use the time you're getting from having the one player stopping the clock from running down to get more kills, outslay them, and get map control of the next point. Realistically, you want to be hoping, you really want to be doing this to the weaker point. So, for example, on a hotel, A is the easy one to get, in my opinion. B is a little bit more of a challenge. So that scenario works perfectly there. So yeah, you really want to be stopping the clock to bring lives down, as well as pushing the map control towards the enemy team's spawn. Next thing I wanted to cover is the use of utility. I have so many times when I'm solo queuing in the game, I see people not use their utility. So that means their trophies, their tacs, their dead silence, their nades. And generally speaking, you want to use everything you can when you can get it. So you get trophies very frequently. You get deady very frequently. Trophies, I would say 2 minimum per team. So 2 players minimum per team should have a trophy. Realistically, I should have used mine there. There is an example, a really good example of when I really should have been using them. But yeah, you get them very frequently. You get them a lot, especially if you're getting kills. So you really want to be using them wherever possible. Whether if you're on offense, you obviously want to throw it onto the point. If you're on defense, you want to be basically throwing it onto wherever you want to control. Because the worst things worst, you don't want to be like sat on a head glitch and then you just get naded off of it. You want to have a trophy down in front of you to stop any nades coming in. Now with Deady, I don't think it's too much of an advantage on defense. I don't think really having dead silence on defense gives you much of an advantage unless you're trying to clear an area. Obviously it does give you an advantage because you can't be sound ordered as much, but you can't be as loose as you want to be on defense because you can flip spawns incorrectly. So you do want to be maintaining some sort of control with dead silence. However, on offense, if the enemy team have got a really good setup, the players with Deady need to make the plays. They need to be pushed around the back, pinching, providing a little bit of pressure, not dying, playing their lives. And what that will do is split the enemy's attention. So say, for example, there's only 1 point really that we need to get. If they've got a couple of people behind them with Deady, you get the first kill, heads are going to be turning. And therefore, we can then, you can produce a pinch and then eventually take the point. Next thing I want to mention is that there are so many times I'm spectating people and I'm just not seeing them throw their nades or their stuns. In any situation, unless you know they don't have trophies, if someone's explicitly told you they don't have any trophies there, obviously you want to throw your nades. You get a nade every time you respawn and it's very nice. Even if someone's not there. So for example, I know like they're going to be pushing from my right here on this gameplay. I could throw a dead nade there. It's going to delay their push. And if they decide to push while that nade's there, they're then going to be weak challenge. So you don't always need to know someone's there before using a nade. It can defer people, it can deter them from pushing the point, and realistically it can get them weak without you don't always know where everyone is. So that's my tip. And then the next thing I wanted to say is that when you do know there are trophies and you're trying to clear a point, throw your tax first. So potentially they maybe have 2 trophies down. It's very rare you see any more than that, and it takes 3 projectiles to destroy a trophy. So let's say everyone in the team, well, between the team there's 12. 12? Sorry, what am I maths? Sorry, between the team there are 8 projectiles you can throw at the trophies, which means that there are going to be 2 spare afterwards. So say everyone throws their tax and their nades. Obviously people are going to have them at different times, but generally speaking, use your tax first, get rid of any potential trophies they've got there, and then from there you can use your nades. I see so many people throw their nades first, which is great because timing wise the grenade blows up at the exact same time they get stunned and it really throws them off. However, if they've got trophies, the nades are going to get killed by the trophies first, and you're just left with attack without doing any damage. When I say attack, by the way, I mean like a tactical throwable. That's really what I mean. So yeah, obviously there are way more tips and tricks I can go into, but without making this an hour-long video, I'm just leaving it briefly. Obviously I've gone into spawns, I've gone into the basics, and then covered a little bit of other bits and bobs around control. Last thing I did want to cover, however, is streaks. Our streaks really aren't prevalent on this game because of trophies. So I would recommend putting your reps in when using a Predator missile. There are plenty of places you can put a Predator missile on the point, even though they don't have trophies. I may do a separate video on that. But hitting the building on or around the hill usually doesn't, set off the trophy and does damage to the people on their point. So that's worth noting and worth getting practicing when and wherever when possible. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. If there's anything you want me to go into further depth with, drop a comment down below and I'll try and explain it my best. But if I do see you guys telling me, I wanted to cover the same thing, I may just do a video on it. I may just do a different video on it if there's something specific a lot of you guys want to be doing. But yeah, that's going to do it. I'm going to leave you with the rest of the video. And yeah, enjoy your day, guys. Catch you in a bit. Mid-hill. Yeah, we can force their 4 lives down here.
The back as well. There's one shot. Connector. Oh, put that out. Absolutely hill, one bullet on the hill. What's your connection? I'm watching this. Oh, let's go.
All hunters, mission accomplished.
I actually set up. Maybe that's all I needed to do. Fuck, is that the time? I didn't even realise the fucking time. I gotta go. Oh, I'm up at 7.
That's over.
How much am I getting for that then? 32.
51. Come on. I'm even, baby.
Rough.
Black and crimson at least.